Hey guys, welcome back to A Little Bit of Light. I'm your host, Alexa Bacani, and today we are here with Miss McKentrick. So, thank you, Miss McKentrick, for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
And our today's topic is just positive vibes and knowing how to live a positive life, and have a positive outlook on life. So, Miss McKentrick, my first question for you is, why do you think it's important to try and have a positive outlook on life?
Because essentially being a human is kind of like you're a guest, right? And so you're a guest of your body, right? And your soul is essentially just temporarily in it. So how can you make the best of the temporary life that you have here on earth by being positive? Now, when I say being positive, that doesn't necessarily mean you ignore the negative, because there's toxic positivity, right? And so when we talk about having a positive outcome, it's like that idea of being able to enjoy depression, being able to enjoy happiness, being able to enjoy all of the emotions in between, like frustration, and essentially being aware of all those different emotions. And in the process of being sad or happy or whatever emotion you are at the time, whatever your feeling is, trying your best to see the positive outcome in it and see the positive aspects in it so that when you look back at your life, you see your life as a positive thing, right? It's your perspective. No matter what, it doesn't matter what other people are going to say. Other people might say your life was awful, but from your perspective, your outcome of your life was positive because that's what you chose. That's how you defined it. That was your perspective, you know? So when I constantly say positive mind, positive vibes, positive life, and hopefully the positive outcome that you desire, it's mostly about you. It's about my students and their own life and them choosing to live the best life that they can live. And so, yeah, positive outcome is just a philosophy that I live by, like not just like as a math teacher, but as a human being.
Wow, I think that was so beautiful, especially with the part where you mentioned, like being positive through your depression. And I constantly always say this because my childhood hero um um struggles with bipolar disorder, and she really like mentions like, hey, like this shouldn't be like my flaw. Like she found strength in her, her like struggles. So like that inspired me, as a kid. Like, oh my God, like when I do feel sad, like this isn't the end of the world. Like I can shift my perspective on it and just be a positive person. Like if I'm sad, like okay, I'm only sad for this day. I know this feeling is not permanent. So
Exactly.
I think that's right. So I think that's very important that you brought it up, because it can be hard to kind of see past the negatives. And like when you mentioned toxic positivity, like that stuff is important as well. So
Mhm.
on the contrary, when you mentioned your students, I want to know if there's one thing or one advice you would give to your students that you want them to carry throughout their life. What would you want them to carry?
It's this quote that I have on my forearm that essentially is a compilation of um, quotes. Whether you think you can or think you cannot, you are right. Remember to believe is to achieve, and just breathe. And my fifth year of teaching here at Northwest was really rough. Teaching algebra 2 for the first time when I was a geometry teacher for 4 years, and it was like a brand new. I was like a brand new teacher, and there was this student that left a note on my desk one day that wrote. She wrote, "Sometimes you just need to take a step back and breathe," and that inspired me to get this quote like a year later. And I have it laminated on my wall actually over there. And I still to this day I don't know which child put that. I don't know which teenager left that on my desk, but um, it was very helpful. So I would just say the same thing that she said. Remember to breathe through the good and the bad, and do your best to stay positive and see the positive aspects. Even though there are negative things, there's still something positive to see within all that darkness is a little bit of light kind of aspect. you know?
Wow, that's such a powerful message for, whoever gave that to you. I always say, you get like unexpected blessings. So like when like moments happen like during like the right time. Like you said, like your fifth year was very, very hard, and I'm sorry that it was very hard, but I feel like that could also help you grow. And whoever gave you that quote, bless their soul. If they happen to watch this, like you made Miss McKentrick's freaking like year for her life. So that was very important. I think that I feel like I'll carry that within me as well. So I want to add on, when a student is feeling sad in your classroom, like you can notice that, like say they're like a very outgoing person, and just like one day you just like notice a shift in their personality, or just like, when like a student is like down, they're not very, interactive and what's it called, participating in class. So do you like, if they were to talk to you, like what do you say? Like do you kind of like give them advice? Do you just kind of let them like wait till they talk to you?
Well, it depends on the situation. Sometimes you need to give empathy, and sometimes you need to give sympathy. And there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy, right? One is where you put yourself in that person's shoes, and the other is where you try and understand that person from your perspective, right? So um, it depends on the situation. So I would essentially, if a student outreaches me to address a situation, I usually just ask a bunch of questions, more so than give them exactly an answer. Like I don't like to um, solve people's problems for them. I like to allow them to solve it for themselves by giving them questions to help them figure it out for themselves. um, and so, and in the process of the questions, I try and ask the questions so that it'll lead to something positive, but that's not necessarily what always happens. And so, um, I do my best to give love in any circumstance and give compassion. So I hope that, yeah, empathy or sympathy, depending on the situation, asking lots of questions to help them see the positive light from whatever perspective they want, and then, giving love and compassion in the process and breathing through it. There's been times where students have come to me in a Google Meet meeting, and they're crying immediately. Like the very first start is, they're crying because they're failing the math class, and I immediately say, I am so sorry that you feel this way. I'm sorry that you're sad about failing this math class, and what can we do to make it better? And then all of a sudden, like the tears stop. They're like, oh, she does want to help me. Oh, she does care. Oh, okay. And then you're able to calm down, and we're able to calm down, and you're not crying. You're able to think clear, and you can think with your brain and your heart. you know you've got to be able to connect both. Your mind and your heart have to be able to connect in order for you to prosper in life, from my perspective. So that's essentially what I do when I work with my students and they're in a tough spot, is connecting the brain and the heart with sympathy, empathy, questions, and love and compassion.
Wow, that's knowing that a teacher like you, like I know Miss McLean cares about us as well, but there's many teachers out there who are here to hear you out. Like you're not alone. Like sometimes I always say you don't need advice. Sometimes you just need someone to hear you out. Because I always say you have this bottle, and if the bottle gets too, when a bottle like pops, like if it gets too, like if it's overfilling, it's gonna pop, and you only have so much to carry, that sometimes it's good to just talk with someone, even just a teacher. Like your teachers are here for you, people. They care about you. They're human beings as well. They know they probably been the same thing as you. So I think that is something very important. So now we're gonna go to a break. So see you guys after the break. and welcome back. So thank you for all you guys who tuned in here today to watch. Don't forget to fill out the form. It's always linked in our Hawk Media Group bio. Follow us on Instagram, Twitch, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of that. And if you have any questions as well, the form is there. Or any topics you want to see on the show, any teachers you want to see on the show, let me know. Let Miss McLean know, Jose know. We really appreciate it. So, Miss McKentrick, you're known to be a very positive teacher on campus. That's your all my friends talk about how positive you are, and I just love the vibes. So during shifting to distance learning, and you're not able to, spread your positivity to your students in person, how do you find ways to spread positivity through distance learning?
At the beginning of the year, it was tough, but then I started playing this Would You Rather game for attendance, and I think that has allowed the students to be themselves. Because in a math class, it's really hard to answer a question because if you're not right, you feel embarrassed, and then you don't want to answer the question. So I think that having the Would You Rather game in a math class for attendance allows the students to talk through their own reasoning as to whether or not they choose this or that or neither or both. And in the process of the Would You Rather game, it has built relationships in the digital platform. And sometimes there's banter between students unmuting themselves about whether or not they agree with what someone said about the Would You Rather game. And in the process of these Would You Rather games, I think that positive energy is brought forth because of the relationship building aspect. Whether people agree or agree to disagree, it doesn't matter. The Would You Rather game for attendance has brought positive energy because it has created relationship building, And I think that creating relationships and getting to know your students and students getting to know each other is one of the most important aspects of education, is socializing and being able to work with others even if you don't like them. I like to say there's an infinite amount of love, and I always constantly every class period tell my students I love them. At the end of the class, I tell them I love them. And sometimes my students even tell me I love you back. So I think that's another positive aspect that I brought. Like, I used to not say I love you to my students as often before the online learning, but now with this online learning, I just say it every day to them now, constantly. And it's really helped bring in more positivity in the classroom, because it just, bringing in love, when, who everyone needs love. So that, just saying those words to my students helps build the relationship again. And I think going back to my 5th year again, in my 5th year of teaching, I had a breakdown and I did something I wasn't so proud of. And I wasn't the positive teacher that I like to be. But in the process of that negative year, I had some students who told me they loved me. And they told me that it was going to be okay. They would, say little tiny positive affirmations to me that helped me get along in that year, And I bet you some of those students watching this will be like, oh, I love that, because I've literally told them to their face, I wouldn't have been a teacher without you. If you hadn't been there my 5th year of teaching, I probably would have quit in my 5th year of teaching, because, so many times you came up to me with this positive energy trying to understand the math, and I was just in a negative space, So then, just remembering that for my 5th year, and then doing that in this 7th year teaching, and telling them I love them, I think spreads positivity within themselves. If I tell my students I love them, hopefully they'll in turn love themselves, because the more love you're given, I think and the more you're able to receive it, the more you're able to love yourself. And if you love yourself, you're going to see yourself in a positive perspective. So bringing in lots and lots of love and relationship building in a very forceful mannerism from a teacher perspective, um, online, and it has been exhausting. I definitely have gotten tired, but you know what? I think in the end, there are some students who are going to live a more positive life, a better life now because of my many times of my own breaking down that you won't see. Right here, you are seeing me and this beautiful smile with this face on, and people can say that this is fake. But the fact of the matter is, I used to say, "Fake it till you make it," but really, it's faith it till you make it. Have faith in yourself. Believe in yourself. It's not being fake. It's being faithful. I'm faithful to my own humanness and my own love for myself and my love for what I do. Right. So it's it's tough, but there's an infinite supply of love. And if 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 the students receive the love, if they're open to receiving the love, then they will receive the positivity as well. That was long, sorry.
Oh, it is all good. That is, oh, I'm speechless of what you said. Um, during distance learning has been stuff from a student's point of view, and I always say it takes one teacher, one person, it's positive vibes to be sent your way, and like because whenever you see someone like positive in your life, they give out a certain aura. They give off a certain aura, and you can see that aura shining. And whenever I see that, I'm just like, dang, I should be like a person like that. And when you're around more positive people, you really do become, more positive yourself. So I'm sure your students are very appreciative of you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all my teachers, Miss McLean, all my teachers that I've had. I appreciate all of them because I know they're being distance learning is just as hard as it is for us and as it is for them. So I think that's beautiful that you say that you love your students because you really never know if a student lives in a household where they didn't grow up hearing the three words, I love you. So I feel like hearing it from someone else kind of like, push you like I am loved, and that can really impact someone's life. I mean, I was one of them. Huh? Just impact someone's life and like learn to love yourself because when you're positive within your soul, that kind of it shines out. Like if you're positive inside, it shines out. Like that is so beautiful, Miss McKenzie. That is really beautiful. So thank you, Ms. McKenzie, for joining us here today. Ms. McLean, Jose, for making this happen. And for the students who came to watch this, I hope you were able to live or not live, but like get something out of this because you are not alone. There will be days where you feel your heaviest, but the next day you might feel your greatest. And I think that Ms. McKenzie just showed a perfect example of that. So don't forget that at the end of the day, there will always be a little bit of light. See you guys next time.